Let's talk just a little bit about roughing out bowls. I've got two bowls drawn here on the board. They're both about 20 inches. This one, the lower one, has the base that is very similar to what we see with most wood turners. I've got my tenon, whether dovetail or cylindrical, depending on the type of jaws that I'm using. I personally use a lot of dovetail, so I've got my dovetail drawn here. And then I've got a very wide shoulder. That's where my registration comes from. I want to have that wide shoulder, or I want to have a good shoulder, slightly undercut for my jaws to fit in there. Let's go ahead and draw a set of jaws in here. My jaws would make contact here. I'm not so worried about the dovetail angle. That's a mechanical lock. If you're working with the serrated jaws, you need to have a true cylinder on there. And same thing here. Got my jaw drawn. On this one, there's a slight gap in the corner of each of the jaws because the tenon, the shoulder on the tenon is cut with a slight dovetail. Now this jaw, which extends all the way out, and this shoulder, which is wider than the jaw, as the wood compresses, as I squeeze down with the chuck, I'm going to get a gap in between here, and that can generate a problem with vibration. This shorter shoulder registers, but has less of a chance to get a gap as I tighten the chuck up onto the soft wood. And I say soft because when we're roughing out bowls, we're talking about green wood on there. So I've got roughly a 2-inch diameter rim on here. Now, if I continue that 2-inch diameter rim on the inside, or that 2-inch diameter thickness on the inside of the bowl, let's look at what happens here. So I've got that radius. At this point, now I've got some very long fibers. Well, let's go back to the rim. My rim, I've got 2-inch long fibers here. I've got to draw moisture here and here. So I've only got 1 inch of wood to dry. That's not going to take too long. But down here in the bottom of this bowl, my grain's running across this way, I've got some extremely long fibers that I need to dry that wood out. That's going to slow down the drying process tremendously. Not only that, it's going to increase the stress level. Cracks are caused by stress in the wood. And stress is caused by the moisture leaving, or one of the things that causes stress is the moisture leaving at uneven levels. So if I'm thick down here and I've got to pull all that moisture there while this dries, this is going to start to move. This can't move because all those fibers are still got all that moisture inside of them. So what you end up developing is a crack that shows up down in the bottom. Oftentimes it's a crack. It'll come through at about a 45-degree angle right through there, and it'll split right open. Sometimes you'll see them in the bottom here or in the bottom here, and render your blank, if not worthless. It's going to cost you a lot more time and effort to fix that crack than it would have had your blank not had had your blank dried without a crack. So let's go back to this version here. Now, I don't hollow an even wall thickness on here. At this point here, I'm only about 12 inches, so I can bring that wall thickness down to about 1 inch. Through there. I've still got long fibers here which are going to take some time to dry out, but I've got a lot less stress to build up inside of this blank. So my success ratio of drying this blank is much higher than this blank. This little step, second tenon if you will, Mike Mahoney calls it a cleft. And Mike Mahoney taught me this simple technique years and years ago. And I put that in. Now the other advantage that I've got with having this secondary, this step in here, let's imagine we're going to turn this bowl green right to thickness, and we want a thin wall bowl. If I follow this outer wall here, I came down, I've created a handcrafted funnel. Handcrafted funnels are not as easy to give away as handcrafted bowls. At least that's been my experience. This bowl here, because I've got my end curve here that I want. As I bring this down, I've got plenty of wood to work with. Now you may even note that my end cut on the rough out and my end cut on one that I was looking to finish is about the same depth. That's the hardest wood to get out when it's get out of the blank. So I'm going to take it out while it's easy, while it's green. And so I do thin my bowls down quite a bit, right down in the bottom. Then if I've dried the bowl, returned it, I've still got room to come in, because I use very large tenons and jaws. I'm typically, on a bowl this size, I would have a 6 or 7 inch diameter foot that I've gripped in there, and I've got jaws that close all the way up to an 8-inch diameter fully closed. And so I'll have a very large tenon on there, but that is also economy of wood. I don't waste the wood that is the tenon, especially if I'm working with real beautiful blanks. I don't want to waste that wood. And so larger tenons give me all of that, and thinning that down. So what I'm saying though is, here at this diameter, I might be 12 inches thick. My blank is only about an inch thick. 10% of the diameter, the standard drying process, 10 to 12%, because I sell on a lot of my blanks to other wood turners, I tend to lean a little on the heavy side of 12%. And that being said, that slows my drying process down a little bit, but I'm willing to slow down my drying process to get an end-use product. But tapering that down helps me a lot. It can be a little troublesome, causing some vibration as I finish the bowl and go back through, because I've lost some strength. I do have to watch my steps on that, but it's very helpful. I'd much rather have a dry bowl that's slightly thinned down right here and deal with a little vibration than a bowl blank that's cracked. And I've got to deal with the issues of filling the cracks, or a safety issue even more concerning. I don't like to turn wood with cracks in it if I can avoid it.